Welcome back. All right. We're going to take a look at Patrik Laine. This is going to feel a little bit like a career video, but I want to talk about Laine because there's been a lot of discussion around him recently. Laine, of course, a number 2 draft pick back in 2016, and there have been endless debates about Laine for a long time. I've done videos on him before, and I just wanted to talk about him today because it does feel like what he's going through right now in Montreal could very well decide what his next contract looks like and what kind of term he's going to get on that next contract too. And will it be in Montreal? Will Montreal look to keep him around? There's been discussions about his ice time. He made statements before Four Nations, which I think were overblown. I think any player that says, look, I'd like to play more and I'm not happy about playing less, they're just telling you the truth. No player's going to say, look, I'm happy on the fourth line. They want to leave me here, fine. Third line, same thing. You want to play, and especially when you're a goal scorer, which Patrik Laine is. Now, he is, like most goal scorers, very much a hot and cold scorer. He'll score you a bunch of goals, and then not. And then a bunch, and then not. So to try to illustrate that, on the board up here, I've got each season he's played, and I've split it up into months. And I haven't paid as much attention to which team he's played for, although I've recorded, when those changes took place. But his first month in Winnipeg is a success. 6 goals, 2 assists, 8 points in 9 games. And there was this silly debate about who was better between Matthews and Laine. Matthews clearly the better of the two players. I don't think it's talking out of turn to say it. But Laine's had a good career for himself as well. So, November, 7 goals, 11 points in 16 games. December, 6 goals for 12 points in 14 games. January, he's above a point per game that year. 6 games, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. He stays above a point per game in February. 11 games, 8 goals, 7 assists, 15 points. And that's where we're getting that legitimate discussion about just how good Laine is going to be and how many 50-goal seasons is he going to record. He does not have a 50-goal season in his career. He has the talent to do it, but we'll talk about that. We will get there. So March, his totals drop off, just 5 points, just 3 goals in 13 games. April, 4 games, 2 goals and assists for 3 points. His ice time, and again, this is by the months, varies from 16 minutes and 10 seconds at the lowest to 19 minutes and 23 seconds at the highest. His second season, his biggest season when it comes to goals, he had 44 goals in the 2017-2018 season, but it didn't start off that way. 4 goals, 6 points in 11 games in October. In November, 7 goals, 14 games played, 11 points in those 14 games. December, he's back to a point per game, 15 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points. January drops off a little bit, 11 games, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points. In February, he's back above a point per game, 12 games, 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points. And he had a ridiculous month of March. 15 games, 12 goals, 3 assists, 15 points. In April, drops off a bit, just the 4 games played, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. His ice time by months averages out to the lowest being 15 minutes and 40 seconds, the highest being 17 minutes and 17 seconds, which has been that discussion point of when he's not producing and you drop down his ice time, well, now he's not going to produce. 2018-2019, slow start again. 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points in 12 games. So 2 of his first 3 seasons, he had a bit of a slow start, but he had an amazing month of November in 2018-2019. 12 games, 18 goals, 1 assist, 19 points. 18 goals in 12 games. So he's back. He's back. The goal scorer's back. Look out. He's going to be dominating. He's going to win a Rocket Richard. He should be a 50-goal scorer. It doesn't last. In December, 15 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. In January, 12 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. February's totals come up. 12 games, 8 points there, 4 goals and 4 assists. March, 15 games, just the 1 goal to go with 7 assists, 8 points. And in the playoffs, or in April, 4 games, no points. I didn't include the playoffs. Now that I've slipped and said playoffs, I didn't include the playoffs. I feel like this is more of a regular season video than it is playoff video. But he did produce well for them in the 2018 run to the conference final. So his ice time in the 2018-2019 season averages at the lowest 16 minutes. The highest 18 minutes and 18 seconds. So pretty standard ice time there. But his ice time would go up. 2019-2020, much better start points-wise. 12 games, 3 goals, 10 assists for 13 points. One thing with Laine is if he ever really develops an excellent passing game, that's going to open up more goals for him, right? It's something that Ovechkin learned at one point in his career, that if he makes them think maybe he's going to pass the puck, he may get more goals as well. So November, 13 games, 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points. December, back above a point per game, 13 games, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points. And then it drops off in January. 12 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. February's points totals come back up. 14 games, 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points. And in March, 4 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. And we got the pause in 2020. So there was nothing to report on for April. His ice time at the lowest was 14 minutes and 49 seconds, and at its highest over a month, 20 minutes and 53 seconds. So that's the first time in a month he had more than 20 minutes played in a game. So Winnipeg's giving him ice time. But the rumors of whether or not he's going to want to go somewhere else are out there, and so he does get traded during the 2020-2021 seasons. A lot of 20s in there. But he only played 1 game in Winnipeg. Now, of course, this was the season that was shortly after the 2020 season ended. So there's no regular season games in October, November, December. January, he plays the 1 game, 2 goals, and assist for 3 points. And then he's on his way to Columbus. In February, in Columbus now, 13 games, 6 goals, 4 assists, 10 points. In March, 14 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. And in April, 14 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points. In the month of May, the only time you're going to see regular season games in the month of May, I would hope, 4 games, just the 3 assists there. So his scoring not quite where it was before. But this is a new location. This is a new team. And so you kind of have to take that into account. His ice time ranged from 16 minutes and 20 seconds per game to 18 minutes and 18 seconds per game. And this is just the monthly averages I'm going with, not actual game by game. I felt like that was a little bit too much micro on the board here, and I don't want to go into that much detail necessarily. 2021-2022. So now he's in Columbus for his first full season. 8 games in October, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. That's a good start. November, he only plays 1 game during the month of November, has 2 assists in that game. Plays 1 game in the month of December, had a goal in that game. And then in January, he's back, he's healthy, 14 games, 6 goals, 4 assists, 10 points. February, he's back above a point per game. 10 games, 9 goals, 6 assists, 15 points. In March, 15 games, 6 goals, 9 assists, 15 points. And in April, 7 games, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. So it is interesting to look at this season because you have months where things are, obviously there's injury issues here, but his totals are good. He's producing well in Columbus. Things look pretty darn good for him there. Then we get to 2022, 2023. 4 games played in October, just the 1 goal. 4 games played in November, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. December, 12 games, 7 goals, 5 assists, 12 points. So he's back to point per game and a little over half a goal per game. In the month of January, 16 games, 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points. February, production a little bit below point per game rate. 10 games, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. But in March, 9 games, 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points. He played no games in April. And his ice time, it varied from 17:35 to 22:09. Now, the previous season, in November, in that 1 game he played, he had 15:36. The highest that his ice time got was 21 minutes and 57 seconds. So he had some good ice time. And that 22 minutes and 9 seconds that he got in a month from, and I mean, on average in a month from Columbus, the highest he's had in any month in his career. So 2023-2024, what would be his final season in Columbus? 4 games played in October, 1 goal, 1 assist. In November, 10 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points. December, 4 games, 2 goals, 1 assist for 3 points. Now, his ice time, lowest 12.5 minutes in a month. But remember, this is small sample size too. His highest ice time, 17 minutes and 2 seconds. So then he wants out, and we'll talk about that again. We'll get into some of the things that have affected and impacted him in his career. But he ends up in Montreal this season. Now, he gets injured before the season starts, so he doesn't play in October. He doesn't play in November. And then it's like a house of fire, right? In December, 13 games, 8 goals, 2 assists, 10 points. On the power play, he's kind of automatic. You win the face-off, tic-tac-toe, make sure the toe is Laine, and he'll get the goal from his spot. Then in January, 10 games, 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points. And in the month of February, prior to the tournament that we've just seen played out by Finland, 5 games, no points. His ice time is dropping down. His ice time in Montreal so far this year at its lowest, and this is average over a month, 11 minutes and 58 seconds. At its highest, 16 minutes and 12 seconds. Marty St. Louis not giving him the ice time that he's had elsewhere. And there's a discussion to be had for that. So let's take a look at his totals as well through each team. So in Winnipeg, 306 games, 140 goals, 110 assists, 250 points. Points per game, .817. And his ice time averaged 17 minutes and 40 seconds per game during his time in Winnipeg. In Columbus, 174 games played, 64 goals, 74 assists for 148 points. .793 points per game for him. And 18 minutes and 12 seconds per game. So Columbus gave him every opportunity. They played him more than Winnipeg did by about 30 seconds there. Montreal, 28 games, 12 goals, 6 assists, 18 points. Points per game, .643. So his points per game is off from where it was prior. 14 minutes and 49 seconds average ice time this season in Montreal. Which leads us to that discussion about his ice time. Now, during his time in Winnipeg, Blake Wheeler was always the source of everybody. Well, he was the one that all the ire was directed towards. That Blake Wheeler was getting this top line spot that Laine rightfully deserved, and Laine should get. And it's where things get kind of tricky, because Scheifele admitted he preferred playing with Wheeler over playing with Laine, which I can kind of understand, because with the game that Scheifele plays, and Laine's very much a shoot-first type of player, it may not work as well with Scheifele's game, or he just feels better playing with Blake Wheeler. But there were definitely those who disagreed, felt that Laine should have been played more. And then after Laine gets traded out of Winnipeg, Paul Maurice admitted that there were mistakes made by himself during Laine's time there. That maybe there was a little bit of, I don't know if bullying's the right term to use, but some exclusion of Laine, some isolation on Laine as being a problem here and there, this kind of thing. And so Paul Maurice admits, yeah, there were some mistakes while he was here, but he leaves Winnipeg, he goes to Columbus. And then June of 2024, he requested a trade out of Columbus. What's interesting is he signed the contract he's currently playing under with Columbus July 22nd of 2022. And I remember part of the reason he signed that 4-year deal with Columbus was so that, all of this, will he stay, will he not talk, would kind of go away. So he was willing to put his money where his mouth was. But he also, during that time in Columbus, spent time in the NHLPA's Player Assistance Program. And his relationship turned sour with the market, with the team, and he did request that trade while still in the Player Assistance Program. And there was the debate about how effective he was going to be when he came out of that program. What kind of player are we going to be looking at? So his cap hit is $8.7 million. He will never play up to that cap hit. There are certain players in the NHL that will not play up to their cap hit. However, it doesn't make them bad players. It just means that their contract is not one that is necessarily great for the team that they're playing for, right? So he turns 27 on April 19th with Laine at this point. What you see is what you get. He's a good goal scorer. I think that there's still a chance that by the time his career is done, if he finds some consistency here, we could look at a 350, 400 goal player. Absolutely could. The interesting thing is that the 44 goals he scored in 2017-2018 was seen as his jumping off point. And I remember thinking, he's going to get some 50-goal seasons. He's just got to find the consistency. And sure enough, like 2018-2019, when he has the 18 goals in November, it looked like it was just a fait accompli that he was going to get 50 goals. And he didn't. He didn't get to 50 goals. So this is the issue with Laine, and this is where now Montreal is having to figure things out. Because if you play him on a top line or a top two line, you are adding risk 5-on-5. He is never going to be a great defensive forward. You're going to see goals that go in while he's on the ice that he may be gliding backwards. It's something I talked about when he was in Winnipeg, and we saw that in Columbus. We still see that. It's part of his game. He is not a defensive forward. It is strange with hockey that when a player is all offense and they're not very good defensively, they get absolutely just torn apart by fans and media. But if a player is really good defensively and doesn't have the offense in their game, he tries. And I think it really is the cap hit. So because a player who's all defense and doesn't have the offensive side is going to have maybe $2 million cap hit, maybe 2.5, that kind of range, you don't get as critical of them when they're not putting the puck in the net as you do with an $8.7 million cap hit if the guy doesn't come back and play defense very well. But he doesn't. So he's better suited to the power play. And that's where we're at. Because if he's on the bottom two lines, the problem you also have, and this is where Montreal's going to figure this out. Marty St. Louis is a very good coach. If anybody can figure this out, I think he can. the problem with having him on the bottom two lines is with less ice time, he's going to have less shot attempts. And with Laine, part of the reason I think why there's this huge variance between 1 month and the other is confidence. With Laine, there were times early in his career where I would see him talking about getting less ice time, and I would think to myself, he's whining and he shouldn't. He shouldn't. If he wants more ice time, go out and get it. And that's what coaches will always say. And Marty St. Louis has said that. If you want more than 11 minutes of ice time per game, you got to go out and show me. But Laine is one of those guys that when he's not getting that ice time, it does feel like it impacts his confidence. And so you have to find that balance where you're giving him enough ice time where he can have that confidence and be productive, but you're not playing him so much that it exposes the weaknesses that he has 5-on-5. You can play him with good defensive forwards. You can do that side of it as well. But very often your better defensive forwards will probably be bottom six guys. So there's that whole balancing act. Now at Four Nations, he didn't get a goal. There's been talk about how his shot is not as feared as it used to be. But he had 3 assists in 3 games. He can still be productive. And he can still be a very good player. He was on the ice for what? The last 6 minutes of that game against Canada? I think it was the last 6 minutes he was on the ice. So he's still got good cardio. He's still a good player. It's just a matter of where does he fit in. So that's the challenge for Marty St. Louis and the Canadiens coming out of the break. Is where does he fit in? His cap hit is until next summer. So I would think he stays in Montreal through this summer and probably into next season. And then we start to hear the conversation about whether or not you try to extend him. What does that extension look like to the team and to the player? And, it gets a little bit dicey. And it's going to be interesting to watch. Patrik Laine is a fascinating player, in my opinion. The highs and the lows have been very just wildly different. And yet, he's a good goal scorer. He's a good top 6 forward when his head's really, truly in the game. But it just feels like it's shaky. Because he went from looking like he was going to score goals in every game for Montreal in the power play, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. So that's something that can be worked on. He can work through it, as shown by previous times in his career where he's had struggles certain months, and then he's been fine the following month. So it's a matter of maybe figuring out what went wrong in February to fix it in March. Keeping in mind, too, that Montreal, a seller at the deadline, it may open up some more ice time for Laine if they sell off some assets at the deadline, and so it might push him into a higher role with the team. But does he produce more, or do we see more of the issues with his defensive game 5-on-5? Fascinating career, absolutely. Someday, somewhere down the road, I'll do a career video on Patrik Laine. We're not there yet because he's only just about to turn 27. He's going to be around for probably a nice long time yet. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding Patrik Laine. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.